me, you may have some difficulties.
No, I think we're good now. I think we got everything going. I'm showing audio on my side. I'm showing audio on your side. And
I cannot hear anything you are saying, Dish.
oh, maybe I should unmute you on Discord. And now you can.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, and I can hear you, and I think everybody can hear us. So, uh,
Hey, if you are in the YouTube chat thing, say something if you can hear us.
yeah, let's see.
Comment.
On
Somebody's on there.
I'm getting the woo on the Twitch side. So Twitch is up and running.
Oh, whoever it is not chat.
Okay. Hey. Okay. So Mel can hear us on Twitch. So
All right. And
everything's coming through.
my phone says YouTube's good.
Okay.
All
So
right, everybody.
looks like we are live. Hey,
Yep.
hey
Fine.
everybody, and welcome to the Shallow End, a little podcast thing where we talk about the things that we want to talk about. I should probably get that off of the screen real quick. For those of you who are watching, you get a little taste of what's coming up. But I'm Dish, and we're here to just talk about things that we want to talk about, especially in the realm of magic, because that is what I spend most of my time doing. Today, I have my friend Adam back again. Hey, Adam, how you doing?
I am doing all right. How about you, Dish?
I'm doing okay. I'm glad that we managed to figure all this out because now, next time, we should be able to simulcast pretty easily. But it seems to be working, and that takes a lot off my mind. And now we gotta get things going. Anything cool going on with your life? Anything you've been looking at, checking out?
Not really. If you guys aren't listening to the Magnus Archive, highly recommend it. It is getting close to the end. New episode came out today. I've not listened to it yet, but I'm sure it's great. They all are.
That is also what I was going to suggest this week because
Oh,
you're much further ahead than me. I'm only in the middle of season 3. But if you guys are into horror in any way, Magnus Archive is really good storytelling. Uh, Apparently, season 2 was sort of a love it or hate it thing. I found it to be pretty okay, but season 3, I am all the way back in, just 100% invested. So it should be good. Should be good.
now, season two, they all kind of blur together after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Just so everybody knows, I've listened to 170 some odd episodes in the last, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months.
He
When did we start
started,
listening to this?
yeah, he started after me, so I heard it off of that overly sarcastic productions, the thing that I mentioned last week, uh, and I started listening to it. I guess 2 months ago now, maybe a little less than 2 months ago, like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, and then a week or two in, I was like most of the way through season 1 or halfway through season 1, and I was like, oh, I'll share this with Adam, and then Adam proceeded to just destroy me. He just like the next time I talked to him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm like on like episode like 50 or whatever." I'm like on 22.
Actually, you told me about it. I basically thought, huh, that's neat, and completely ignored the suggestion until it came up on a podcast I listened to, Poker Pals.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So he even didn't start listening to it when I told him to listen to it, and he still is just way outpacing me. I ended up catching up for a minute, right? Like
Yeah.
I'd come back and I was like, yeah, I finished season 2. Okay, and then we talked about it for a little bit, and then I decided to take a few days since season 2 was a little bit of a drag for me. I was like, oh, I'll catch up on some of the podcasts that I normally listen to, and then I'll come back to it. So I did that for a couple days and then came back to it. By the time I came back, he was like, "Oh yeah, season 5 is the last season." I'm already like a few episodes into it, and I'm just
Now, season 2
okay.
is no spoilers for people listening, but
Mhm.
season 2 is when it deviates a little bit and we get more world building, right?
Yeah,
Season 1 was basically just I'm reading a statement.
yeah.
Maybe there's some little bits and pieces.
See,
Season 2, it really starts opening up and expanding.
yeah, I feel like season 2 it starts dealing more with the characters that you see. Season 1 spends a lot of times on characters that you never meet and never see, and then it starts dealing with characters you see in season 2, and then in season 3 it really like spreads out. Like I'm super enjoying season 3. Season 3's been great. All right, but we shouldn't talk too much about that because we don't want to give anything away. But if you like horror, go listen to it. It is great.
Besides that, I'll talk a little bit later about some other stuff I've been up to. But
Yeah. Okay, well, then I guess we will go ahead and start. We've got a few topics today, and the first one I want to touch on is the ban list. So, Monday, I believe, Tuesday, one of those days,
I think it was
they put out a new ban list, and the new ban list is Uro is banned in standard. That's it. No touches to historic as we thought may have happened, and no hit on Omnath, no hit on Lotus Cobra. I win, I guess. I
yeah. To be fair, you also were pushing for Lotus Cobra to
yes.
be on the list.
Yes, and I don't think that we've seen the end of it yet, to be honest. So, one, a lot of people who were winning just head over feet with Omnath in standard, a lot of them just took their standard deck over to historic because it ramps so hard. Why not? Uro's not banned in historic, so there's no reason to worry about it.
Well, yeah, and Arena's new enough that a standard deck isn't going to be outshone by cards that came out in 1995.
Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff in historic yet to really like deal with the Omnath deck. So it's just from one end to the other end. And a lot of people are still playing Omnath just fine in standard. Uro was not the biggest problem with that deck. Uro was a problem for the game, but not really
Omnath.
for.
Omnath was the big problem.
I still think it's Lotus Cobra, and
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
yeah. But I think what we'll see is we'll see another banning out of that deck. I would say in the next 2 weeks. It'll either be Omnath or Lotus Cobra, maybe both. But I don't think we've seen the last of Ramp in this season. Like I think seasonally speaking, this is going to keep going. It's just going to be a thing.
Green ramp might be a thing. You're right.
Yeah. I don't know if we talked about it on here, but I had talked to you about it a couple times. I think that if green ramp could only get green mana, ramp would not be the kind of problem that it tends to be when it gets big in standards. Like a lot of
so everything's Land of War.
yeah. If you could only pump through green, or you could only search basic forests through ramp spells, like how much easier would it be to quell the giant green beasts that show up? I mean, there's a couple with like that are 7/6s with hexproof. That would be kind of difficult, right? But overall, like green creatures aren't good enough to just roll through people the way that this current format is letting ramp roll through people.
I think big green creatures is always going to be a threat.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not a threat.
They'll die to removal and stuff, but when you've got 4 7/7s or something staring at you with reach and trample, and they've got that one forest still standing upright, and they've got some cards in their hand. Somebody's getting a +3/+3.
Right. Well, we'll talk.
Everybody's getting +3/+3.
We'll talk a little more in detail when we hit our topic later, but even in limited, I've been seeing a lot of success with the way these landfall decks are working. So just being able to do them in multiple colors feels just it has some weird stuff going on. It's pretty insane. Let's see. I think that's enough on what's going on with the ban list, unless anybody in chat wants to say something about the ban list.
Are you looking at chat? Because I'm not.
I'm looking at both chats, yes.
Okay.
I have YouTube up and Twitch up, so if anybody wants to say anything, anybody's got any insight, by all means, say what's on your mind, and I will gladly listen to what's going on. But in the meantime, maybe we should go ahead on to our next topic.
Okay.
All right, this one's yours.
All right. So first, let me ask you a question, Dish. Have you listened to any of the Marvel scripted podcasts?
No.
Okay. So are you familiar with them? Did you know they were a thing?
No, I don't know what those are.
Okay. So starting a couple years ago, 2018, Marvel, teaming up with Stitcher, they put out about 10 episodes, maybe it was 8, I don't remember, a Wolverine story, basically, broken up into chapters. It was Wolverine the Long Night, and that came out in 2018 on Stitcher Premium, and then 2019, it came out for free, wherever podcasts are sold. Then 2019, so last year, they came out with a follow-up, same actor, same continuity, another Wolverine. This one, the first one was taking place up in Alaska. This one taking place down in Louisiana. I remember correctly, we get a little bit of Gambit involved in there, and that's always fun. And then they also came out with another one in 2019, at the end of 2019, called Marvels, which was not in the same continuity, but it was another 8 to 10 episode, 30 minutes, give or take, an episode story. This one taking place mainly with the Fantastic Four, right after the Galactus storyline happened.
Okay.
And they're really well done. They're fully scripted audio drama. There's Foley work and everything. Well, I bring this up because last June, Spotify announced a deal with Warner Media. And Warner Media, they're the people that own DC Comics.
Yeah.
So Marvel put this stuff out on Stitcher. Did pretty well. And in June, DC announced, hey, we're teaming up with Spotify. And just a few days ago, they finally announced what the first scripted podcast was going to be. And it's going to be a Batman story.
Okay.
It's going to be executive produced by David S. Goyer, which, do you know who that is?
Nope.
He's the guy that wrote Batman Begins.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of launching off the Nolan Batman thing. He's executive producing it, and he came up with this story. Details are really sparse right now. Scarce or sparse right now. Apparently, it's going to take a deep look at his rogue gallery and be kind of psychologically based.
Okay.
But it's supposed to come out next year. I'm kind of bringing this up because comics for the last 20 years have dominated the cinema, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ignore New Mutants and Green Lantern. Like, there's some outliers. But for the most part, Marvel or DC puts out a movie, whether it's good or not, people are buying popcorn and sitting in seats.
Sure, yeah.
And now, for the last couple of years, Marvel's been producing these audio dramas. Now DC's getting their foot in the door. This year, it's kind of DC, but this year there was an adaptation of the first 20 issues of Sandman that came out on Audible. How do you feel about all these, about comics basically? Started off as comic books, they moved on to the small screen. I mean, we grew up with Batman the Animated Series, we grew up with Justice League, we grew up with X-Men, we grew up with Spider-Man.
Sure.
Now they're moving into, I mean, basically what supplanted, I in my life at least, what has supplanted television, which is podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
It's listening to words on your telephone.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about it? Any idea? Any thoughts?
On a side note on that, who knew that people would eventually use their phones to listen to something? It's bizarre. I think that comic books in general have some very cool and interesting stories, and the kind of things that as a kid I was always into, but I was never really into the medium. Like, superheroes were, every kid in my area had some superhero or another that they liked. But most of us weren't avid comic readers, but we were into the cartoons that would show up on television now and again. As they feed into more media types, I mean, I think it's good in a sense that it gives more people a chance to have exposure to these characters and do more things that they enjoy. And, like, somebody's going to enjoy it, right? Somebody's going to listen to it and take pleasure out of it. And I've always been a fan of, like, radio dramas, so I could totally see myself getting into a Batman thing, sort of reminiscent of, like, I don't know, what is it, the Green Hornet? Is that one of the old radio?
The Green Hornet was a radio show.
Yeah, and or something like that, And I think it's a cool idea. At the same time, part of the reason why I don't really watch movies anymore is because the slog of going through continuity is kind of bogged me down into only watching one-offs. Like, I think the last movie I went and saw, the last movie I saw of my own volition was Knives Out, which was really, really good. And then before that, it was like The Orient Express, which was also good. But I've skipped the last, like, 10 Marvel movies, and I haven't seen anything DC's been up to in a long time. And I think part of that is just like a burnout on the genre. And so I could see similar burnout happening for me in the podcast realm, if that makes sense.
How many episodes of the Magnus Archive have you listened to this summer?
I am on episode 95.
Okay, so we'll say 45 to 50 hours.
Yeah, that's probably pretty close. They're about 20 to 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus more if you listen to the, like, behind the scene, like the
right.
Between.
Yeah. I tend to skip those, but oh wait, no, that's right. I am on episode like 100.4 because I just listened to the.
Oh, you're listening to those point things.
Well, I listened to the Q&A
Gotcha.
for the assistants, but yeah. So yeah, absolutely. There's like lots of stuff that I've absorbed.
The big difference, I think, one, everybody knows enough about Batman.
Mm-hmm.
By this point, when you are born, you know enough about Batman.
Right.
It's kind of like we never need to see another spider bite. We never need to see the pearls drop,
Right.
Stop redoing the origin stories. Everybody knows how they started.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows who the Joker is. Everybody knows who Dr. Octopus is. I say everybody. Everybody who's like me.
Right.
Like, we're not yet. Like, I'm not saying everybody should know
Well, and
who the Jack is or anything.
yeah, and I mean the research is there. Like if you ever go into a Spider-Man movie,
I don't think you need to research anything. That's the thing. There's a lot of. I really recommend listen to the Wolverine and the Marvels.
mm-hmm.
Give those a listen. If nothing else, I mean, you've got half an hour to listen to stuff on the drive into work, and you can throw that on to help pass the time.
But when will I listen to my other podcasts?
On the drive home from work.
No, the perfect plan.
You don't have to know a lot about these characters. Like, you can be dropped in. Oh, okay. The last thing you said you saw, Orient Express. Or not the last thing, but the thing before.
Yeah.
That's Poirot, right?
Yeah.
Is that Poirot?
Yep.
Okay. Can somebody go and watch that being not familiar at all with somebody who is definitely not French and has a funny little mustache?
Yes.
Okay. But there's a ton of Poirot backstory. There's a ton of other books and other stories. You can do the same thing with Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if they are going to like focus in as a psychological thing with the Rogues Gallery, like that's the part of Batman that I find interesting. Like that's the part I want to see,
I think you'll really enjoy The Long Night, the first Wolverine podcast series. Wolverine barely appears in it.
Wolverine barely.
No, like seriously, it almost feels for the first half, 3/4, if I'm remembering correctly, it's basically these two like cops or FBI agents or something interviewing people because weird stuff is going on in Alaska, and so they're just like hearing these rumors about a guy with weird hair and claws that lives in the woods, and it's like, you don't think that could be him, do you? It's like, no, like he's dead or like something. It's
that does sound like right up my alley. It really
it's great. He plays a bigger part towards the climax of the story, and definitely in the second series, he's the main character. But for that first one, he's almost like you could do like an early Batman story where it was more just like a Gotham PD thing, where Batman was spoken about kind of in hushed whispers and nobody was really sure if he was real or not.
Right.
Or like the police, they know he's real because they keep getting villains tied up with bat-themed rope. But for everybody else, he's the boogeyman kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can do really interesting stories like that and not have them hugely continuity heavy.
Yeah.
Basically, 10 episodes telling a story. If you want to do more with that, you can. If not, you can tell a different Batman story.
Well, and I think part of the thing that made comic books really accessible, at least when I was young and at first, it felt like there was something for you to choose, and if you were into a character but not that story, you could wait a little while and they might be in a different story, or they might have another title out that's the same characters doing something entirely different. And I think that's kind of cool.
I mean, yeah, like Detective and Batman.
Yeah.
In one of them, he's more of a superhero, and one of them, it's more like street level.
Right.
Crawl through the sewers.
Yeah, like he's
guy that looks like an alligator.
Right, one step away from wearing a trench coat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might even wear a trench coat, depending on the story. One more thing with this, and then we'll move on to the next topic. And ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be a doozy. how would you feel if Wizards jumped onto this bandwagon? I guess it was announced a long time ago that they're going to be making a Netflix series. That hasn't been unannounced, has it?
No, not as far as I know.
Yeah. So what if they started doing this? They're already putting they don't do full-length books anymore, or maybe they still do. I haven't seen any in a long time. But they're doing the short story things, right, up on the website. But what if they decided to do Tales from Zendikar?
Right.
Where it doesn't even have to be like a heavy continuity thing. It could just be, this is going to be, 3 30-minute audio things about people who are on the sidelines.
Right.
Like, what happened to all those Eldrazi? I don't know.
I always wanted a story like from the perspective of someone who kind of half slept through the invasion, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I was out in the middle of the woods camping and I came back.
I want it to be the other way. I want it to be basically, Eldrazi everywhere. I got sucked into the show on Netflix when it finally ended. They're gone. Like,
yeah, what now, right? What now? What do, right?
I believe the answer canonically is party.
Yeah. have a celebration. I think it would have been interesting if there was a planar wide celebration card on Zendikar as well, because I feel like there should have been much rejoicing after the Eldrazi were gone. To answer your question on the books, they actually were doing nothing but books until the end of War of the Spark. And then people got really mad at the books that came out for the Ravnica stuff on War of the Spark. They didn't release They released the Ikoria one, which doesn't match up at all with the lore on the cards. Then they chose not to release the Theros one, and now they're back on online stories because that's what everybody kept telling them to do. So now we have online stories again. The next subject, with it being a heavy one, do you mind if we take 2 minutes and get some water? You in for that kind of break?
Yeah, that is fine, everybody.
All right, so guys, I'm gonna put you through. Just hang tight. We will be back in 2. Getting everything turned back on. Let's see how we did. Adam, you there? Yep, there it is. That was a fresh take. Just rip it, baby. Just...
Okay.
Can you hear?
What?
All right. We are back. Thank you guys for listening. Apparently someone has asked if I want followers. I appreciate the thought, friend, but hopefully they will come to us. There we go.
I say yes. Send everybody dishes away.
Send them all. Just don't try to make me pay for it, because that's just not going to happen. Just not going to do it.
Well, it depends what kind of rates they charge them.
I can't even imagine how those make money. I have no idea, because like a lot of them offer you Prime memberships, and it's just like, okay, so what? Like, am I supposed to be like being charged, $6 a follower or $6 a Prime sub, and then they'll send someone over to Prime sub for me so they make a buck or use a bot or whatever? And just it's weird. It's weird stuff.
I mean, they're all bots. Like,
yeah. Oh, for sure. But it's just like, it's just a weird thing, because using Twitch in order to get a Twitch Prime sub, someone has to be subscribed to Twitch Prime, right? Which means that they're probably subscribed to Amazon Prime. It's just, I don't know. It's money. It's money that I don't understand.
But like if let's say it's $100 a year to be a Twitch Prime person. I have no idea what Twitch Prime is. But let's say it's $100 a year, and they get 500 people to pay $5 for that follower.
Oh, that's true.
Then they just make $2,400.
But you only get one free subscription with Twitch Prime. I mean, as a follower, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. For the sub, I guess they pay more. I don't know. It's not super important. Just amusing. Okay. Speaking of super important, we are going to talk a little bit about the Walking Dead secret lair that got announced. Whew. Okay. So, just to do the backstory, as we always seem to have to give people some idea of what's going on, Wizards announced that they are putting out a new secret lair. Secret lairs, for those who didn't know beforehand, are supposed to be all reprints with new arts, and they're limited time things. You go on for a week on their website and buy directly from them. They print as many as they need to, and they ship out that many, and that's it. And you will never get a chance at that secret lair again. That way, each...
So, I was going to say, if anybody saw the uproar, the Godzilla cards, weren't they a secret lair?
No, the Godzilla cards were in Ikoria main set. Those were just skins for things in the thing. But like
My Little Pony? Is My Little Pony a secret lair, or was that just its own thing?
Nope, it was just its own little collector's booster for charity, or it was not a booster, but a like a little box for charity.
The cats was.
The cats was, absolutely.
Okay.
So, like, one of the ones that they did recently there was a tattoo one. And so it had Pithing Needle, Blood Artist, like, couple other cards from Magic's history that have to do with, like, ink or permanency or whatever. And they did new arts of them that looked like they were just like someone's tattoos on their skin. And it was cool. Like it gave you some cards that you might use. Some of them are playable, some of them are not playable, but
you can also buy those same cards from Innistrad.
Exactly. If you wanted a Blood Artist bad enough, you could just go look up a single online. They're like 35 cents, like it's not really that big of a deal. And some of them are worth more than that or less than that. The very first one they did Bitter Blossom, and Bitter Blossom was a $30 card, or you could buy the Secret Lair at $30, which came with 4 pretty tokens. It had like this panoramic thing going on. Very cool. But it's all art just put onto a reprint card. Every secret lair has been that so far. Until now. So, Wizards decided to do a crossover deal with The Walking Dead, which is apparently finishing out their series now. Like, they're doing a special, and it's coming out.
So you're just talking about the TV show?
The TV show. Specifically, AMC's The Walking Dead, yes.
Yeah, AMC's The Walking Dead. It's going to be ending. There's still double digits worth of episodes. They're going to be released over 2021, 2022.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's not leaving. But there's also Fear the Walking Dead or whatever. There's a spin-off show.
Yeah.
That's going to be continuing. There's other spin-off shows that are going to be happening. And I think there's a movie that's already in the works. It's not like The Walking Dead franchise is going away.
Right.
It's just this particular
the main
series.
line, the main line series or whatever. So the mainline series is going away at some point soon, and they're doing a tie-in with The Walking Dead. And with this, they are.
I want to derail you for just a second.
Sure.
Do you know how the comic series ended?
No, I have no idea.
I wish the TV show ended the same way. So what Kirkman did was...
Hold on, wait. Spoiler warning for the Walking Dead comic.
This is not a spoiler.
Okay.
Although I did spoil somebody about this, but an issue came out and it was the last issue. There were solicitations for continuing issues. Like, comic shop owners did not know it was the last issue. It wasn't leaked. It was just, it came out, the end.
And it was just over.
And it was just over. Like, that would have been amazing if, The Walking Dead, like, I'm going to be honest with you, have not watched a single frame of it. But if, halfway through they're like, next week on The Walking Dead, the dead, they walked, or like whatever.
Yeah.
With special guest, John Larroquette. And then, no, it just ended. Like people who... Is TV Guide still a thing?
No.
Oh. People who buy The Walking Dead quarterly or whatever, there's like future like episode titles and release dates and stuff. Mm-hmm. On IMDb, there's all this extra stuff, and it's all just a ruse.
Yeah, it's just...
And they just, boom, ended.
That would be awful. Hold on a second.
That would be amazing. But anyway, sorry.
All right,
I just had to derail you for a second.
So the crossover with Wizards and The Walking Dead, they are doing a secret lair. So same thing as normal with secret lairs, a limited print run, 1 week to buy.
Unlimited print run.
Unlimited print run, short time frame. So it'll only be printed during it to order. Supposedly,
yeah.
They're not going to print anymore, but they'll print as much as they need. So if everybody in the world buys 3, they will make enough to make everyone in the world 3. But that, yeah, and
usually there are limits, like 10 or 30 per person or something.
Yeah. It's generally they're not going to let you do very many. And these are going to be new, never before seen cards. Mechanically unique is the word that they're using for it. And tournament legal and legal in Commander and Eternal formats. So, like 10 to 12, I think, brand new cards. Just new cards. They are plastered with the Walking Dead characters on them. They are named after the characters from the show, Michonne and Negan and all those things. They make walker tokens, which are like zombie tokens, but they're walker tokens. And it's very, very weird to see black border, brand new cards in something of this kind of print run, because this is not going to be available to the masses after the week that it's out, direct from Wizards. And in order to get them after that, you will have to get some of the supply that already exists. So there's a lot to unpack with this, but the big thing is the idea that it's new cards that they don't have any plans to reprint them anywhere else. Right. So I kind of want to touch on that first. Adam, if I told you haven't been playing Paper Magic in quite some time. If you and I...
Not since, like, Theros.
Not since, like, first Theros, right. If you decided to get back into Paper Magic next year, and you found out that one of the major decks that was crushing through Modern had a card in it that was printed in this secret lair situation, and is not available and wouldn't be available, as far as you know, ever again. How'd you feel about that?
It's a standard deck, you said?
So it won't be legal in standard. It'll only be
So
legal in the eternal formats.
it's okay. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If I went to a legit modern tournament, how many cards would I see in deck lists that are on the "we will never print this again" list?
In modern, very, very, very few.
Okay. Then I'm going to a vintage.
Okay.
Vintage is a format, right?
Yes.
Okay. I go to a vintage. How many do I see on the deck list then?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. That's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Where if you did not, I mean, basically some of those cards, if we didn't get them and keep them while we were in our mid-teens.
Okay. So
We were in the same situation.
So it's creating another not
Have they said
restricted.
they will never reprint them?
Okay. So currently the one thing that got commented on after people started making a fuss about it, after people got on Twitter and got on Mark's blog and all this stuff and started talking about it and going, hey, why are you creating cards that are mechanically unique? Like, you guys already said that you wouldn't do this because of a previous thing that happened. And Mark's answer back was, just so you know, that we can always remake these cards, reprint them if they are good enough and popular enough in other things. And they would have the Godzilla card treatment, except it would be magic focused on the new cards. So the new card would be, magic person extraordinaire, and then the title underneath it would be Negan, the Walking Dead character, right? But it would be the exact same card with a magic skin, as opposed to the other way around, like the Godzilla cards were, where it was a magic card and then it had a Godzilla skin.
But they could be reprinted.
They can be reprinted. Just as a note on this, the main things that people always ask for reprinting are like things like the fetch land and power that you would see in like modern or maybe even legacy. And very, very infrequently do we actually get reprints for those formats that are cards that count. Like, there will be some rares and mythics in like a Modern Master set that are playable in those formats, but a lot of it is garbo, like just fluff, right? So just because they said they can reprint it doesn't mean that they will, is the short thing I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah. If I got into this format, one, how good are these cards actually going to be? Two, how much are these cards actually going for?
Well, that's the thing, right? So how good they're going to be just depends on the card itself. Who knows, right? A lot of these cards look like they're more suited for Commander. And Commander has a habit of spiking the prices of things that are hard to get a hold of. Because even though you only need one, you need one in every deck that plays those colors, etc., etc.
Okay, they pay $50 and they get one.
So, but is that
in the future?
Now, is that a good situation though when you're talking about literally something that was printed limitedly to the people who bought it at the time, because a lot of those people are probably not going to sell their cards like anytime soon. And
You have bigger, much higher faith in people than I do.
what do you mean?
There are going to be people buying the max amount allowed per account.
Oh,
just to flip them on eBay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we've already seen that happen on previous Secret Lairs, where like Card Kingdom tells you how many they have, and so does Channel Fireball. All those online sites.
Do you know what the highest selling comic book of all time is? Single American, I'll say.
Superman thing. I don't know.
No. It is X-Men #1.
Okay.
It had 5. I want to say 5 variant covers. 4 that formed a picture, and I think there was a 5th that had the pullout.
Okay.
Of all 5 covers.
Okay.
Everybody bought one.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody bought another truckload.
Right.
Because it was going to be worth money. And a few years ago, I picked up the 4 covers that form one image for like $1.50 total for the 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
What could happen is this is going to sell way too much. Wizards and Hasbro are going to make tons of money. And then they're going to be up for $3.50.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not fair that if I want to build a deck, I need to buy a $50 doubling season. Or I need to buy, a $50 whatchamacallit that just got banned.
All right.
Yeah, it was the card that I pulled, and I can't even remember the name of it. It's 3 letters.
I think that's why you're having so much trouble with it.
Yeah, I always go with like Uno and
yeah.
Stuff
Ooga
like
is the one you say a lot, which
Ooga.
makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, Uga's a $50 card.
Okay, so you don't see this as being different than normal secondary market situations, like.
I don't think it's cool. Like I am. This was just an answer to your question.
Mm-hmm.
If I got back into paper and I discovered that to make a viable deck, I needed one of these cards that were only produced this one time.
Mm-hmm.
Depending how the market looks, that may not be a big deal. Or it easily could be I get into a format and none of these cards are played because there are strictly better cards.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I don't think it was cool of Wizards to do this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, go ahead.
Let me ask you this, though. So, little behind the curtain stuff. This is not the first time I've heard you talk about this topic. And so I actually read up a little bit about it.
Okay.
Are you familiar, I'm sure you are, with Firesong and Sunspeaker?
Yes.
Okay. How is this worse than that?
So give the people some background on Firesong and Sunspeaker real quick, just to.
So, whenever Dominaria was,
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, 3 years ago,
Yeah. 2 years.
it was the buy a box promo. So if you bought a box at your local game shop, and you were one of the first people to do so, because they only got the buy a box promos in I think it's 20, 40, and 60.
Mm-hmm.
Depending what level of store they were considered.
Correct.
And so a lot of stores, if you bought 10 boxes, you got 1 promo.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 per person for the first 20 people to buy a box. Or the first 40 or the first 60, depending on the amount of sales that you do. With this, if I wanted a playset, I could log on October 4th or whenever it goes live. Here's $200. I've got my playset of Negan. With that, I would have to spend $120 a booster box at probably 4 different stores and hope that I was early enough in the queue to get one of those.
Okay.
If I wanted a playset of the Fire Song and Sunspeaker.
So, you asked me how it's different. It's not. And one of the things,
worst, but
I think this is worse, but the mechanically it's not different. And because of Fire Song and Sunspeaker, that was the thing that I mentioned earlier, where people are like, you said that you wouldn't make mechanically unique things outside of expansions again.
I didn't think it was mechanically unique. It might have been.
What?
I said I didn't think it was mechanically unique.
Meaning it's a new card. It's
okay.
An original card.
It introduced new mechanics, is what I thought you meant.
Yeah, no. But the last time that they did that, so they've done this a few times before. In their infancy, they created this card that they gave out at a place called Dragon Con. It was just like this little dragon thing, and people were completely incensed about it because back then there wasn't a lot of cards anyway. So any new card is an advantage in some way, right? Because it might be good, it might not be, but just having a new card that people can't get a hold of, people are incensed. So they put it out in the Wizards magazine for a while to try to get it so that people could get it if they didn't have it, and to add to the circulation. And they said, okay, we're not going to do that. And then later when they do it again, each time it's a little different from where they're putting it from, but people always get mad about it, and then they always say, we're not going to do it anymore. And Firesong and Sunspeaker was a good example of that, because Firesong and Sunspeaker is a really good card, especially for Commander. People don't want to have to fight for their cards. They don't want to have to battle for a very, very limited print run of cards. They don't care when it's like alternate arts or whatever, things like that, variants, but for the original card, just to get the original, you should be able to get it. Like, it should be accessible to the player. And so they said they weren't going to do it anymore, and it's been 2 years since that happened, and now they're doing it again. And this time it's a whole stack of them, It's not just one, it's 15 or whatever. Or however many there are in the set, I don't actually know. But it's rough. It's rough for the player, especially during this time period, because with everything going on right now, who can afford a $50 side purchase of 12 cards that they may or may not need in the future, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's not good. While we're touching on this, what's your opinions of black border cards that are from another IP entirely?
You mean the fact that these are Michonne, it's not, chick with a sword.
Yeah.
That was not a good way to say that, but
right. It's not
badass warrior woman.
Right.
And then the subtitle.
Right.
Or something.
Right.
So Hasbro, it's not a good idea. Unless there's some sort of agreement where they are allowed to reprint that card in perpetuity or something.
Mm-hmm.
Going back into comics, Marvel used to do a ton of licensed work back in the day. Like they had a Godzilla comic that was actually really popular, and it wasn't just you buy Godzilla and it's taking place in Tokyo and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He interacted with like J. Jonah Jameson, like he was in Marvel continuity, and then they lost the license.
Mm-hmm.
They actually basically said, "Here's a slightly different art. We'll give him a new name. It's still the same guy. Let's roll with it." But a bigger thing happened with Micronauts. So Micronauts was a toy line.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel basically got the deal, and it was okay. Make a story, because the idea was kids need to know how to play with their toys.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of the reason we had things like G.I. Joe, Transformers, stuff like that, was we need to show the kids how they're supposed to be playing with these.
Right.
So Micronauts came out, Rom the Space Knight, and it's phenomenal. Like, those old ROM issues are great.
Mm-hmm.
But they're basically locked away forever now because of rights issues.
Right.
So if Hasbro, which I think I understand that they own like half of the rights to Walking Dead or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
A subsidiary of Hasbro does. But if later down the line something changes and they no longer have rights to that, it's a bad idea, in my opinion, to basically write yourself into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's one of those crossover things like the Godzilla cards, I've got no issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you do a functional reprint, that's kind of going to suck, because then you are going to have people who get to run two in their commander deck.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I guess we should probably touch on one more thing on this, and that is a lot of people think that the solution to this problem is to, since according to Wizards, they don't start printing these until after people order them, because they only print as many as they need for the order.
So
right?
everybody should order one.
Well, that's a thought. But since they haven't printed yet, a lot of people think that the solution to this is that they could still make them silver border cards. Since they haven't been printed yet, they could technically be printed with silver borders instead, and that makes them illegal in Eternal formats and illegal in Commander, except Commander's a casual format, so you can play whatever you want in Commander as long as your play group's okay with it. What do you think about the notion of them backpedaling and not making them black border?
Of them making Wizards change in 3 days? It goes live the 4th, right?
The sale goes live the 4th, yes.
Yeah.
So they have 3 days technically to go silver.
Yeah, because it would have to be before the 4th, because if they decided on the 5th, okay, we'll do it. What do you do with the 10,000 people that bought cards?
Right.
It's probably a big of a number.
No,
but
I
all
mean,
the people
not necessarily. 10,000 orders, maybe.
Orders, yeah. All the orders that happened before,
right?
When they thought they were going to be legal in their modern deck, and they were like, "Oh, I want to like I'm running a black zombie deck in modern. I want Michonne,
yeah, because
the Michonne and 2 zombies attack, she's unblockable or something."
Right.
I think that's what it is.
Yes, except they are walker tokens, so they might not count as zombies.
Oh, the rules text says if Michonne and 2 zombies.
Oh.
It says create walker tokens, but the actual if this then that, I don't know what the magic word is there.
Mm-hmm.
The actual wording in the thing below is zombies.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which makes me think that, because I have not, I looked for spoilers on this because I knew we were talking about it.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't find, I found zombie tokens.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find any walker tokens. And so I'm wondering if walker tokens are just like 1/1 zombie tokens.
So walker tokens are in the thing itself, um, and
Have you seen one?
oh no, those are zombie tokens. The ones that I've seen. I
Yeah, they
did.
say the ones I've seen are just zombie.
Yeah,
They
it
just
says
say
zombie.
zombie.
Yeah,
So I'm
interesting.
wondering if maybe there's Walker tokens where like the name is Walker,
Yeah,
but it's just
maybe
creature zombie.
maybe that's the case. Yeah, yeah. But she definitely makes three walker tokens. But whenever a zombie you control dies, draw a card. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Um. Yeah. So I think. I think overall, this is a bad idea. It's something that they should change. But I also agree with you. I think that I would even say one step further than that. If they didn't announce it tomorrow, Friday, the 2nd, I feel like they would have missed their window to really just kind of be like, we hear you. These are silver border. We know that means that modern players aren't going to buy it, but hopefully everyone who likes The Walking Dead and wants these and wants to play with them in Commander and stuff will buy them,
The
right?
people who bought the My Little Pony cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Transformer ones, and there's like a Nerf one that's kind of funny. Yeah, and but the thing is that I think they definitely don't want to go. They don't want to go silver border because classically silver border cards sell less than black border cards, just as a rule, because they are strictly for fun cards, and a lot of people don't like to buy cards that they can't use in their decks, you know.
Yeah.
And which I totally get, like it's a very understandable problem, but I don't like the precedence this does set because now they can just print whatever they want in secret layers. Like they're not being held to uh, their promise that it was going to be reprints only. And to think
Did they ever make that promise?
it's part of what they said secret layers were. If you go and look at and like what is a secret layer, the first advertisement it's run for them was like these were all going to be cards from Magic's past with a new art and new like that kind of thing. Special art to commemorate them, and so they were all going to be reprints. So them being new kind of sucks, and the idea that and right now these cards, like when I look at these cards, I'm like they look like they're okay. Like they don't look insane to me. But also, this is just the first print of the first run of this. Like, Corvold, the Faith Curse King, was a card that came out in the Eldraine starter deck. You couldn't get it anywhere other than the starter deck. And it ended up being in one of the major standard competitive decks of that time period. That Jund Sacrifice deck was amazing. And you needed 4 Corvolds, which means you needed 4 starter decks in order to get enough Corvolds to get going. That was already a problem. It was already an issue that made a very limited run because a lot of the stores don't buy starter decks because in general nobody wants them. But
Well, the Planeswalker deck I played
yeah,
had cards in it that weren't
yeah.
standard.
Yeah, we had talked about the Eidolon of whatever, which uh, is a very decent white card that you would not see anywhere other than that Planeswalker deck. So for some reason, that card became very good in a white weenie deck up until next fall. We're in trouble, like
I don't think so. I think that's different.
I think it's a little different, but it's already showing problems there, and this is worse than that.
I I don't know what Wizards' official policy is with this, but I mean, M21 dropped, was already out. When we made our video, we could not find an M21 starter deck,
Right.
and so we got the Theros.
Yeah.
Starter decks tend to stay on a shelf. And if somebody was like, actually, this starter deck exclusive or Planeswalker deck or dual deck or whatever it is, this card is bomb. I'm going to buy all of these. I feel like the store can order more. Like, does Wizards have a we won't do multiple printings of a starter deck?
In general, when it comes to stuff that's in standard, standard is print to order until standard goes away. Like, once it rotates out of standard, they cease printing it.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that could be with anything.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, is that the order run for starter decks, I believe, is as long as it's in standard.
Yeah, so that's why I think that's a lot different. Yeah. Because you could just go and buy a starter deck at Target or something, if you knew that card was in there. And yeah, once it rotates out, it's no longer available. That'd be no different than if name a card that was in Dominaria, a new card. That hasn't been.
We don't need to go through all that, but like, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying that there's already a small symptom of this problem in things like that, what they call the chase rares and that are outside of the set but still legal within the set, and this is worse than that.
This is worse than that. I agree with that.
Okay.
I'm not arguing there.
All right. Anything else you want to add to this topic before we move on?
Is Skulk an existing mechanic that I've just never seen?
Skulk is a keyword that they got rid of that used to mean like unblockable for power 2 or less or something like that.
Can't be blocked by a higher power.
Yeah.
That's on one of the new cards.
Oh,
on one of the Walking Dead cards. That's why I was asking. I've never seen Skulk before.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Skulk.
Actually, that mechanic seems kind of awesome.
Skulk was made a thing, I want to say, for the second run of Innistrad, they gave that a keyword. And then they realized that didn't need a keyword, and then they stopped doing it.
Well, they're doing it again. So
okay. Well,
maybe we'll see Skulk in the Viking set.
Yeah, maybe. All right. I think we've worn that to death. Let's talk about Arena.
Yeah. So I decided to try my hand at Arena again. So if you happen to play the last couple of days, and I did a couple of drafts, I did a sealed event, and I put together technically a standard deck and played around in the play queue. If you happen to play against somebody running some variation of a white deck, and you thought it might have been like a 6-year-old, that was probably me. And if you're one of the several people that just conceded before I played any spells, or turn 3 when nothing was on the board, thank you. Like, the wins really helped.
Oh man. So
yeah, go ahead.
So no, I was curious. So you're kind of do you think that you're going to be playing Arena for long, or do you think that you're just?
It's not going to be an everyday thing.
Yeah, but you're enjoying Zendikar so far.
I am. I started playing back when Zendikar was out. That's when I started playing Kitchen Table, and so I didn't even realize that landfall wasn't an all the time thing, because it was everywhere when I started playing. Mm-hmm. The party mechanic is fun. I like it. Clerics are pretty awesome. Rogues are pretty awesome. I'm not a huge fan of warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen some, warriors get plus whatever, but I haven't seen a lot of really fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's it, wizards?
Mm-hmm. Wizards. Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen any fun stuff with wizards.
So the wizard deck is all about like every time you cast an instant, a sorcery, or a wizard, get something. And so, like, I think its biggest heavy hitter is like this 4/3 that when you play one of those three cards, it gets flying till end of turn. So it just kind of smacks in real quick.
Yeah,
And
I can play an ugly little bird for 2.
yeah,
That every time I play a land, it gets a 1/1 counter
uh,
and flying for
yeah,
that turn.
yeah. But it's the wizard deck is good at drawing a lot of cards, which
Okay, well, that's definitely something I wasn't doing.
yeah. The wizard deck's good at drawing a lot of cards. The warrior deck is good at just hard push aggro. There's a common or an uncommon warrior that's a 2/2 for 2 that when you attack with it, choose one of your opponent's creatures that's power is less than the number of warriors you control, and that creature can't block.
Mm.
So you get a bunch of warriors on the board. You get that red-white warrior that gives all warriors +1/+1 on the board, and then you swing with 2 of those things, keep their 2 biggest blockers from blocking, and just force through damage. Just keep crushing it.
Yeah, but warriors, the party mechanic
Mm-hmm.
reminds me a lot of ways of the ally mechanic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to remind you of.
But warrior just seems like bad ally. Like it's just stonework Puma. I like the fact stonework animal came back.
Yeah. The
Puma, it's a pack beast or whatever, but
just
I don't know. Warrior
artifact
just not.
mechanic enabler. Yeah.
With my standard, and that is in quotes, it's a legal standard deck.
Mm-hmm.
I basically took all my black and white clerics and threw them together and then filled out the rest with landfall creatures. It was bad. I realized that I didn't have any removal, which you kind of need, just so you know.
Yeah.
It helps. And I have decided that they need to add a new format.
Okay.
And the new format is set constructed.
Set constructed.
Yeah. So there used to be block constructed, but we don't have blocks anymore because while I went away, Magic went away with them. So I'm dealing with all these mutate things, and I've got no mutate cards. And I don't want to do that. I want to deal with the parties and the landfalls.
Right. So,
And let me say one more thing real quick.
yeah.
I think that for somebody returning to or getting into playing Magic, playing Constructed, it's a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to worry about all those cards that you don't have from the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep playing when the next set comes out, okay, you keep playing the new set and you can build on your set, add to that to make a better standard deck.
Mm-hmm.
Because standard shouldn't go away. It's just there should also be set constructed.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about this because they do on occasion they will do like a small set constructed event for like 2 or 3 days at a time, where they're like, oh yeah, build something that's only in this this card thing, you know. And a lot of times they like to do right before rotation, they'll do a couple weeks of what they call standard and then the year it is, so standard 2020 or whatever. And they're like, build decks based on what the standard's gonna kind of look like without the new set when the rotation happens. So you'll only be able to use cards that'll be in the current standard, you know. And I like all these events. I think they're great. But I do think that there should be a solid queue for set constructed. for the exact same reasons that you're talking about. Like, it's fun. It tends to be a way lower power level, so it gives you something to do that's a little more friendly and relaxed. And it gives you the ability to focus in on getting cards in one set rather than trying to fill out your collection from years past. And while a lot of people think that they don't want to do that because it'll cost them money, because of course they want you to spend money toward the older sets, right? But in reality, if you were to play set standard for the next like 3 months, right? You're gonna get all, huh?
Set constructed.
Set constructed. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
If you were to play set constructed for 3 months, you're going to get close to having all the cards in this set in Zendikar. And if not all of them, then you're at least going to get a hold of a lot of the good ones, the ones you want, right? And then you were to do that again for Kaldheim, when Kaldheim comes out, suddenly you're starting to build a collection to lead you toward being able to play actual standard next time around, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that is a wonderful idea that I wish WotC saw the merit in, because they do them. They just only do them for a couple days at a time, and I'm just like, I don't understand why. Because people play Magic so much on Arena, so many hours on Arena. I played Arena all day today, and the idea that the queues are going to get smaller because you're thinning out your group too much, it's a non-issue. And so I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to set up this thing that would get new players really into the idea of building a collection in one set, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I did one sealed event. I've done 2 drafts.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got enough. I don't have play sets of most things, except for that the cat with a foot in its mouth. What's it called?
I know what you're talking. Felidar Swiftfoot or something like that. It's the 2/3 with landfall, get a +1/+1 counter.
+1, yeah.
And it has vigilance.
Yeah, and it has vigilance. Yeah, so I've got a play set of that. I got a play set of the bird that when it enters the battlefield, you can pick up a land. I've got a play set of the bird that can only fly with landfall, just because those were fun. Turns out, I realize this may be a touchy subject for you, since you've made videos in the past saying how much white is horrible. I like white.
Me too. I really do.
Like white green, white blue. I don't remember what I did for my sealed event, but for both my drafts, it was heavy white, and then add green, add blue to it.
White is very good in the limited format, and white is good as a thing when it's a thing. The videos are always about, we're talking about the grand scheme of Magic, and when you look at white in constructed formats, across all constructed formats, across all history, they are certainly lacking in ways that other colors are not.
I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure your video was titled 15 Reasons Why White is the Worst Color Ever and You're Dumb if you play it.
Yeah.
I think that was the exact title.
Well, that was the working title, but my focus groups told me that I shouldn't be so hostile. So
also, 2 things I encountered while playing Limited.
Okay.
1, I drafted a Lotus Cobra. It helped me not at all. Therefore, you are wrong. It does not need banned. Unless it's banned, just so I don't have it in my deck again. Because it sat there and did absolutely nothing for me. And Omnath destroyed me.
Okay.
So Omnath should definitely be banned.
So, first off, I am going to say to people who don't know, limited and constructed are not the same thing. They don't work the same way. But since we're on this subject,
if anybody made it this far into this video and they don't know the difference between limited and
Well, congratulations. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. I sent invites to a few people. I'm like, hey, tune into this to hear me talk about stuff.
Right.
So maybe it's one of those people.
Yeah.
If so, thank you very much.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Okay, so I did want to talk about this though, because that's what I was talking about earlier when I said we would talk about it when we talked about Arena. So today I made a sealed deck that was green white. It had Lotus Cobra. It had all those +1 landfall things that you were talking about. It had all the ramp I could play in the deck. And it had Felidar Retreat, which is a 4-cost white enchantment that has landfall. Choose one of these two things. Either make a 2/2 cat or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. They all gain vigilance till end of turn. Okay.
A counter, or everybody gets a +1/+1?
Everybody gets a +1/+1 counter.
And this is a landfall effect?
This is a landfall effect on an enchantment.
I've not gotten that card.
It's a rip. So I built this deck that I would just get up to turn 4, play Feldar Retreat, and then I also had a Lithoform engine in the deck, which allows you to copy a triggered effect. And so I would play a land, give everything +1/+1, and copy it, give everything +1/+1 again, and then all the triggers from the birds would go off, and they'd all get +1/+1 in flying. And the Feller Swiftfoot things that we were talking about would get their +1/+1 counters. And I had this green insect in my deck, which I don't know if you know it. It's a 3/4 for 5 that at the end step, for every +1/+1 counter you created this turn, create a 1/1 insect. So I had one game where I played that, played a land, copied the effect of Feldar Retreat, made 10 counters on the creatures that were already on the board, swung in for a huge amount of damage, most of it in the air and all of it vigilance, and then created 10 insect tokens that protected my life for the next turn. My opponent was furious. They just started spamming the nice emote at me. Because they knew they could not win.
If you play against that person with the white deck that's absolute garbage and only has stuff from the current set, if I say nice to you, I'm trying to be sincere.
No, I think you can say nice once and it seems sincere. I think once you're going nice, like you're wasting your timer while burning away saying nice. Okay, like you're done. You know,
also, if I say good game,
you mean it genuinely,
and I don't concede immediately, I fully expected you to beat me that turn.
Yeah. Well, see, that's 100% why the reason I never say good game until like there's like it's over, because I know a lot of people who say good game because they think they have the card that answers your field in their hand. And so they're trying to get you to say, "Oh yeah, I've got this game won, haha," and then they board wipe you or whatever, right? So I don't play that game. I don't say good game unless it's like the very last turn of the game. I've attacked in, they say good game, I say good game, and they concede. But yeah, that deck was nuts, and the reason it was nuts is because Lotus Cobra helped me get my excess mana so that I could play all these things early. So the ramping effect of Lotus Cobra was just ridiculous. And that's why Lotus Cobra should be banned.
No, Lotus Cobra did not help me at all. Yeah. It's not that great. Just so everybody knows, I'm not saying that my deck was bad, but I did lose a game where my ending life total was negative 1,034.
Yeah. Which what were you playing against in that fight?
Let's see. Well, the Spore Web Weaver was the worst guy, but he had this Hydra token thing that doubled every turn. There's an Elder Gargaroth. Um, I see a bunch of 1/1 tokens. A Caryatid. Like, I'll be honest with you, the Caryatid was not carrying his team.
Mm-hmm.
It was mainly the 1025, 1026 Spore Web Weaver.
Yeah,
Was,
that's a big one. That's a pretty big. Pretty
but
big.
I had the last turn. I did have a single marauding light priest on the board with no cards in hand. So you can see how it was close.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And I got them down to 20 life.
All right, all right. Well, I am glad that you are enjoying Arena. I hope that you continue to enjoy Arena. I hope you get some cards together, and then you and I can play some games. And we'll.
I mean, we can play some games right now.
I mean, theoretically, yes.
Yeah, we'll both just play set constructed.
I can deal with that, but I've been playing Zendikar Sealed a lot, and I have 180 packs to open. I'm waiting a little while longer because I'm hoping the duplicate protection at 200 will make it so that I get every mythic. I'm not 100% certain that will happen, but I don't know. I'm having fun, so we'll see. But yeah, let's do it. I'm in. Okay. We got one more topic to talk about. I'm hoping this one's actually going to be pretty short. I just kind of want to talk about when people leave Magic and what that means. I want to talk about this because I saw a Reddit post. Somebody had put up very snarky image that was, "Oh, you're quitting Magic, huh? King Hasbro has something to say about that," and it was just like this picture of like an evil dictator, but Hasbro was the face. The logo of Hasbro was the face, and it was like, "You'll be back," and in his hand he had Kaladesh Remastered. The title logo for Kaladesh Remastered in his hand. And the notion being that anyone who says that they're quitting Magic, they usually just stop until the next set or whatever, and they're not really doing anything to halt Hasbro from doing the stuff they do, because eventually they end up coming back to the game. And I wanted to talk to you about this as someone who has been out of paper Magic for a really long time. Do you remember why you stopped playing paper Magic?
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I do. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was too busy, and that was a lot of it. I was working a lot, and then I moved from West County to St. Charles, putting Yeti too far of a drive for me to warrant doing. And I didn't want to find a new game shop.
And it had a non-zero amount to do with some jerk that you played with on the regs who just couldn't chill out, right?
No, I drafted.
Oh, that's true. You drafted.
You
drafted without me for a while.
I've never been a constructed player.
That's true. That's very true.
Kitchen table is as constructed as I get.
So
I was just a drafter.
Yeah, you left the game with no real ill will towards what was going on, right?
No, I mean I enjoyed it quite a bit, but life got in the way.
Do you feel like now that your time is improved and the fact that we have Arena that makes it a little easier to play Magic, that it's something that you might get interested in again?
Playing paper Magic or Magic in general?
Just Magic in general. I don't think there's much of a difference, to be honest.
I mean, I think there's a big difference. I don't see myself playing anything beyond kitchen table as far as paper Magic goes. Could be wrong. Maybe in 3 months I'll be like, "Hey, Dish, like I just went, 4-1 at the pre-release draft, or
Yeah.
whatever comes out." The Viking.
Kaldheim.
Yeah.
Kaldheim.
They'll hold a pre-release event at Caldy Coffee.
Yeah.
Come out with the new brew, the Caldyheim. It was funny. You can laugh.
I'll try.
Okay. Arena, I'm more likely to pick it up. I don't think I'm going to devote the time, in part because of this chair. Here's a little subtopic for everybody. Chairs are expensive and hard to find, especially if you are a larger person. I am using a chair that I took from my workplace because they were throwing it in the dumpster. And it's not even a computer chair. It was a chair that was like for guests to sit in. That the arms, the fake leather is peeling off of, and I'm basically sitting on plywood that pretends to have a cushion on it. Right.
But
especially since these unprecedented times hit, I sit at my computer in my basement all the time to do work or to do schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
And so to then go, I'm also going to do my fun stuff sitting in front of that same computer. It gets a little rough trying to do that.
Very true.
But it's nice to be able to go, I have to do something at midnight. It's 10 p.m. I'm just going to hop into a draft.
For sure. I think that's huge. And one of the things that sort of worries me about this topic when people talk about quitting Magic and other people coming back at them and saying, like, nobody quits Magic, they just take a break, And I think that there's some validity in that, but only because, not for the reason that people think. Like, people think it's like, sometimes they say it's like an addictive thing, where it's like, oh, like you just can't.
Cardboard crack.
Yeah, cardboard crack, right. It's something addictive that puts you into a thing. I think what happens is that when people leave, they've reached sort of a threshold of how much they're willing to put up with. You know what I mean? Like, they feel like the bad is outnumbering the good. Maybe they lose a lot. Maybe they think that the business practices aren't what they should be. The big reason that people are saying they're going to quit right now is because all this stuff with the Walking Dead thing, on top of all the bannings that are happening, and all the setbacks to playing are outrivaling the amount of fun they're going to have. So they're going to leave, which I can understand and respect. I have no problems with that. But if they do come back, I think they come back because now that they put some distance between the issues that they were having, they remember that the game itself is fun. It's fun to play Magic. It's fun to have a hobby that puts you in with other people and socializing in some aspect. Arena, maybe not so much, but paper Magic for sure, in my case. And so it's hard to stay away from something that you thoroughly enjoy doing, And then you get back in and you're like, oh yeah, this is fun. And you have fun with it for a while until you get back into sort of those circles of negativity, which, depending on a person, depending on whether or not you keep up with social media, it could go a lot faster than it might have gone before.
I think that just based solely on people being people, no matter what fandom they're in, most of the people who are complaining the loudest aren't going to quit. most people that do quit, it's not going to be because they disagree with a business's decision that Hasbro or WotC made.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is just life gets in the way. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I went and, like, even not even counting the pandemic, I would go and watch a movie at the cinema once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. And last year, I saw maybe 3 or 4 movies. That was, I mean, sometimes that was just a long weekend's worth of watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just other things took up my time. Other things got in the way, and I just moved away from it. With Magic, I literally moved further away from the card shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an overly social person and did not feel like going to, I mean, I only started going to Yeti because that's where you were.
Yeah.
Like, I had a friend, I had an in, basically.
Yeah.
And so I went, we hung out, and then eventually I drafted.
Yep.
And then I drafted there the entire Theros block.
Mm-hmm.
And then stuff got in the way, and I just didn't really go back.
Yep. And I had a similar experience. I stopped playing mostly because I moved, but because I couldn't afford it at the time. I was not working the right amount of well-paying jobs that I could afford to keep up. And I'm a competitive player, and I want to play competitive, which means paying a lot more money for cards that you want. So now that I have Arena from the small calculations I've done can be an eighth of the price that you play paper. And I'm like, yes, please. Like, I want to be able to collect the whole set with just a bunch of my time and like $75. Like, that's great. Yeah.
I don't know if that amount is realistic for most people, though.
I don't think it is. I think I'm very fortunate to be good enough at the game that it helps. But because of that, my costs are minimal, and I'm like, absolutely, I want to $25 a month, absolutely, every day of the week, like, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's great.
That's about what I would pay on a Friday to draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there was the 4 o'clock draft and the 7 o'clock draft or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was $12 to $15 each time.
Yeah.
I had fun for 5 or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. And
now I've got boxes and binders of cards that I have not looked at in years.
Yeah.
Taking up space in my house.
And as much as people complain about the idea that like digital cards aren't actually yours or whatever, I am so glad I don't have piles and piles of cards around my house anymore. Like, that feels really good. But when I guess my point here is, if you're the kind of person who has been thinking about stepping away from Magic and quitting Magic because of whatever reason you think needs to be done, just know that leaving is not a sign of anything about you, about what you want. It's you want to stop playing, and you stop playing. And coming back doesn't mean that you've given up whatever principles or reasons you thought that you quit in the first place. Simply another change in the way things are. And I think that overall, if you take a 7-year break from Magic and you get back into it, you did quit Magic. Like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You just restarted, It's not a break. It was a change in the way that you did things, and now you're changing back a different way.
while I agree largely with what you said, it wouldn't be me if I didn't throw in a few caveats. If when you walked away from Magic, and in doing so you flipped over the table, that is on you.
Absolutely. Never burn bridges where you're going.
Yeah. If you're not having a good time, it might be a good idea to leave, or it might be a good idea to find somebody else to play with, or to find a different way to play Magic. That the 7 years thing, I mean, is about that, give or take how long I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would say that I quit Magic. I feel like quitting Magic is there's a decision made.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was more I drifted away.
Yep.
But I would still play. Like, this is my third time, I think, getting into Arena. And I've got like some pre-cons that once in a great while I'll play just some kitchen table with somebody.
For sure.
I never said, I'm not playing Magic anymore. It's gotten to the point where if somebody was like, I bought you this fat pack, I'd be like, thank you.
Yay. Paper cards.
Yeah.
No, but 100%. Don't burn bridges. Don't be a jerk about it. But if you don't want to play, don't play. And if you do want to play, play. Like your person, and especially when we're talking about like the Walking Dead things and like quitting to like hit them where it hurts their bank account. From what I understand, it would take a very large number of people leaving en masse for anyone at the business side of things to feel it. So don't feel pressured to walk away from the game, because for every one of you who walks away to hit them where it hurts, there's going to be 10 people who say they're going to join you that are logging into Arena right now. So, enjoy the game as much as you can. Forget about the rest. And if you aren't enjoying it, skip it.
That being said, if you do genuinely disagree with a company's decisions on moral or ethical grounds, like walking away and not giving them your money is definitely one thing you can do.
At least you're showing that you care.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going to yell about it a lot on the internet, just stop it, guys.
Refrain, please.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good place to stop today, don't you?
Did anybody leave any comments on the videos?
No comments on either side, but I'm not surprised we didn't really announce that the stream was happening. But
not true. I saw a comment on the YouTube where there was a ninja that appeared.
Yes, our tech ninja Melody made sure that we could be heard on both Twitch and YouTube, and
we learned that there's about a 5-second delay before YouTube gets it. So if you want to get all your information 5 seconds before all those YouTube chumps,
that's right.
Hop over to Twitch.
And
actually, just do Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah, just turn them both on.
Use the tab. Yeah.
And while you're at it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel.
There's the Ko-fi.
Yes, please visit our Ko-fi if you want to help support the channel financially and make it so that we can do more things outside of this. I wasn't going to make the Shallow End a weekly gig necessarily. There just happened to be enough stuff to talk about to come out and do another one this week. But if you guys like it and you have questions, if you want to send me some stuff to talk about, send it to the email intotheknowledgepool@gmail.com. And I'll check it out. If you want to be a guest on the show and you are somewhat well versed in this stuff, same email. Give me a shout out, and make sure that you share these with friends and tell people about what you like, and hopefully they'll come and check us out and like us too. Uh, anything else?
Nope, that's all I got. Stay
Okay.
safe, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.